Today here on GHOne television. Yes, it's a beautiful Wednesday morning, the 7th day of May 2025. I hope you're doing very well this morning wherever you are, and it promises to be an exciting show. You are welcome to be a part of it. We are streaming live on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and so this morning is going to be a little bit different. Yes, it's permissible. It's in the month of May where we do anything anyhow beautifully to ensure that you have that variety that you so much desire. And so this morning, let's check out the quote of the day. So GHOne says happiness is not by chance but by choice. That's the quote from GHOne this morning. Happiness is not by chance but by choice. So if you can choose to be happy, you can choose to be happy, you can choose to be happy, and you can decide not to be. But basically, you are responsible for whether or not you get to be happy. You don't chance upon happiness. Create your own happiness. Make that choice, make that decision today to be happy, and then you can bask in the happiness that you so desire. Let's look at the word of the day.
Today's word, D-E-B-O-N-A-I-R.
Debonair is an adjective. It means a man who is confident, charming, and well-dressed. Bolore can be described as debonair.
And so clearly, I don't think there would be any better example than what we have for debonair. Bolore, my CEO. Proper definition of debonair. Well, that's the word of the day. Let's now look at the breakfast review segment. We'll zoom into the conversations now. So today being a Wednesday, as we always do, we empanel an all-female guest list, I should say, where we look at the most raging issues. And today is quite interesting because we have a lady who is also celebrating her birthday, and so we're going to kickstart that. I'm a proud
She just has to make time. Mama is very busy now.
She's so busy, right?
She's so busy now. She just, once she makes time, we'll find a way to celebrate her. Happy birthday, dear.
Excuses that touch the heart.
Ladies, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doc, you've not been busy like Amma has?
I mean, very honestly, I think I've also had my fair share of busyness.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, with the tour and with our efforts to amend our constitution, a lot has been, and of course doing the media as well. So I guess I've also had my fair share of business. But she's still the
busier.
Yeah, she's still the busier.
All right, so let's get into the conversations this morning. John Dramani Mahama, he entered into a social pact with the people of Ghana, 120 days, and listed the things that he hopes to achieve or seeks to achieve in that period. Now, I've spoken to some party people from the NDC, and they've told me that John Mahama has done about over 90% of the things that he promised he was going to do. Kick out e-levy, among others. Last week, we saw the launches of those programs amongst that. So, do you also feel, Amma, that John Mahama really has lived to expectation?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I would say that he's even exceeded expectation.
Right.
And it's not me, it's not my words, it's just everything. So let's start from, even the appointments.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a promise that within 2 weeks, he was going to ensure that, he had sort of listed his appointees, they had gone through the process, and then would hit that, when we have this lull, when there's a transition, and then there's sort of like a waiting period where we are all waiting and we are in limbo waiting for things to take shape. He told us that he wasn't going to have that honeymoon phase, that phase where all of us are just like, oh, it's like I've gone to a new house, it will take me a couple of months to settle. There was no settling in. As soon as he won the election, he immediately went full force named the. For me, I think that it's when I say it, it sounds like, oh, of course you'd say that. But let's be fair. Let's think about this for a minute. It's ridiculously impressive, if I could say so. And everything he said he would do, he has done. Yes, there are a few things that are still in progress. You know, when we say we are giving him 90%, it means that there's some 10% that's still undone. But there are reasons for that. In some of the instances, these are things that require, you know, sometimes change of law even. You know, there are constitutional requirements, some of the things that he wants to do. So, yes, sometimes you have the best of intentions, you have the best of wishes, but bureaucracy would slow you down, which is what is happening in some of the instances. But overall, I'm just waiting for Ikea to give him 100%.
Okay, would it be 100% from you?
Definitely not.
On John Mahama's 120
definitely
days.
Not. I have heard a lot of members of the NDC use the excuse of bureaucracy and basically just how the system runs as an excuse for some of the things they haven't fulfilled. But to me, that's a huge letdown, not just for us, but for all Ghanaians, because the expectation is that His Excellency John Mahama has been president before, so he understands the system properly. So when he was making these comments, let me just read one for you. Number 5, we have it all here. We've done our own analysis. We humbly give him about 45%.
45?
Yes. And then
that's like below average.
If you give us some time, we can go through it step by step. We did that on Monday when I was supposed to meet Amma, and it's quite clear. And they were very clever with the wording. Some of the things when they are campaigning, oh, we would do this, but in the 120-day contract it says initiate. So when you are judging them, even the 45 is a very, I don't know how to, it's a very let my people go score. So, like number 5, within my first 90 days in office, scrap the following draconian taxes to alleviate hardship and ease the high cost of doing business. E-levy, COVID levy, and on and on and on. COVID hasn't been done. And the wording here is actually very specific. He said, within my first 90 days in office. So you would expect that somebody who has been president before understands these things. And so when he said this, he meant it. So we're supposed to see him achieve this. Then number 2, which has been the most contentious.
No, wait. Are you saying that the draconian taxes have not
You have not removed the COVID levy. You have removed the COVID levy.
No.
So she mentions e-levy is gone.
Done. Yes,
COVID levy still.
How many were they?
So that's 25. You've missed 25% there, and I'm saying that we didn't
one
put
out of how many?
1 out of 4 is 25%. If my math is not in the bin. Budget so far, they have appointed a smaller number of ministers. We give that to them, but they are spending overall a larger amount than was spent last year. At the office of the presidency, the budget is bloated by about 3 times than it was last year. They are having committees left, right, center. The last one I saw was about 35.
Can you give it to me in figures? Can you be more specific?
Oh, so the budgets at the office of the presidency the last time was around 3 to 5 million, if I'm not wrong. That was last year. Now it's about 1.2, and that's just for salaries, if I'm not wrong. And we also did
3.2, and now it's 1.
No, it was 325 or something. I'll give you the exact. It was 325, and now it's 1.2. Salaries at the office of the president. I'm telling you that we actually sat down and went through to be able to mark you very objectively, devoid of all biases. Then, so by just looking at that, you can tell that no, you have supposedly appointed a very small number of ministers, but they are using more money to run the government. If you look at the total cost of the total amount that the government is budgeted to spend this year, it is 40 billion more than last year. I'm sure you're aware of that. So, by what stretch of imagination do you say you are running the leanest and most efficient government if it's costing the people of Ghana more? Then we can even come to their newfound way of doing things, of appointing a committee for everything. I saw a 35-member, and it was a news alert from GHOne actually, about a 35-member committee to organize a national day of prayer and thanksgiving or something. Come on, guys. I mean, I don't know by what stretch of the imagination this also counts as somebody who has constituted the leanest government. So especially with that promise, there's been a lot of toil toying and playing around things, because yes, indeed, you have appointed less than 60 ministers, but the whole government is a very pregnant one. It is pregnant with about 3 people at a time. That's how much this government is consuming, way more than we were accused of spending.
But there's an explanation to why the office of the government is spending about 2.7 billion.
At the office of the presidency,
yes,
because national security.
Don't worry. It also covers salaries of civil servants, so not necessarily just the office of
last year. Do you know how many agencies were under the office of the president? About 7. Mm-hmm. And then we have let me just quickly find,
because I remember I spoke to Felix on State of Affairs.
Of course, I don't.
And then he talked about the fact that Felix, now because a lot of ministries have been collapsed, they are all absorbed.
I would explain it to you. Felix is a very, very, very good spin doctor, so I'm sure he did an excellent job at spinning that. But if you look at the entire budget of national security, which has been added to the office of the president, how much they were spending on salary. I'm not even going to try and reduce it and see that those who have been reassigned will be paid by different ministries. Let's add the entire budgets of the former Ministry of Information on salaries. It's not even up to 1 billion. So if you do that math, there's still an extra 1 billion just on salaries at the presidency.
Now who is spinning?
No. Numbers, facts are facts. Numbers. Right. You see, these things they are just numbers, and there's not much that you can do about it. Yes, 2.7 million. We spend 327.
Yes.
Exactly. So even if you add the two ministries that they claim to have absorbed at the office of the presidency, there's still a 1 billion CD that's gone aloof. So by what stretch of the imagination do you come and confidently proclaim that you are running a lean and efficient government? If you are setting up a 35-member committee to plan a day of prayer, by what stretch of the imagination do you then come and say that you are running a lean government? Then we can go into other issues, because I have the entire social contract here. So just bear with me so that I can touch on a few things.
Right.
So there's another one, number 6. Within my first 90 days in office, review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. I think we can all come to a consensus that hasn't been done, has it? No. Let me move on. The no academic fee stress, that's even debatable, and I don't even need that to come up with a very solid argument. So I'll let them have that one this morning.
Because the portal has been launched, people have started applying.
No, but people paid their school. The promise was that you would not pay school fees. So that's what I'm saying. It's debatable, but people pay their own school fees to go. So
and I'm saying that there will be a refund.
Debatable. That's not what was promised, was it? No. Now we come to another matter on taxes. Commence the review of Customs Amendment Act 2020 to scrap the forest reserves. Has that been done? I want the answer from you. It has not been done, and now this issue of Galamsey is even more brazen, to the point that we see that now there's no need to use supposed, because the person is actually a national security coordinator who has supposedly taken over a legal mine, and I think Isaac Adongo made a post on it. So the legal mine that people are hoping becomes like a blueprint for others to be able to copy and do responsible mining. You go there with pump action guns and you take over the mine, and you are mining illegally because you don't have the right to mine there. You've been doing that for 4 days. And when a journalist talks to you about this matter, what you say is that it's order from above and there's this back and forth and all of that. So obviously the matter of Galamsey has also not been taken seriously.
Despite the crackdown that we've seen, including Abraning crying, and then the community where over 10,000 people lived.
Again, I do not understand when people say this. People have been arresting Galamsey as illegal miners. It's nothing new. It's something that had been going on since 2017. Those crackdowns had been going on since 2017, and that's the notion is that they are more disciplined. Even they are influenced. And you think is these the river guards we saw on TV are those that will not be influenced? I mean, I'll leave that to the imagination of the Ghanaian public. Then we come into commence investigative processes to purge the state security agencies of all militia and vigilante elements. I don't know where they got that from, and obviously that also has not been done. Another worrying trend I have seen is some members of the NDC grassroots. I saw some reports from Kumasi where they had a press conference essentially demanding to be made part of the security services of the country. And I mean, those are the party boys who used to terrorize us on election day, and they are asking to be absorbed. I'm just hoping and pleading to NDC and His Excellency John Mahama that he would stick to this promise 21 to not absorb those people, because we do not want to create a tyrannical security architecture. Then we come to reopen investigation. I mean, all those they will be debatable for me. Then carry out a shake-up of all loss-making SCOs and realign them to break even and transition into profit-making. I don't know how that realignment has been. So I will leave that as also debatable. Okay. So I think it's very clear that I've shown you today before. So he would have been able to, in a better position, to make that excuse that bureaucracies hindered him. So this excuse that is coming out from the quarters of the NDC, to me, it's not enough. They need to go around and come up with a better excuse, or better still, just remove those taxes. It's also something that His Excellency Dr. Bawumia had promised to do. It was one of the things that we had also promised to do. So if they remove it, I think it's to ease the pressure on all Ghanaians. So
that's the COVID levy.
Yes, the COVID levy.
That's one. We are still on one. I was just about to commend the Kia, when she was doing the spinning of the math figures, and and say to her that, "Well, Kia, your math is so great and mine is not." And so she said, after everything that has been done, and of all the meetings and all, they come up with just about what 3 or so that have not been.
Oh no.
And to end all of that by saying that, then I'm going to score 44%, and clearly, even my math.
She says the rest are debatable.
Yes, debatable.
And I didn't want to go into, but let's do that. Let's just get the facts. So, and permit me, it's a tall list, but it's important that we do this,
sure.
Right? 1, nominate within the first 14 days the complete list of cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval. Done. Constitute the leanest and most efficient government under the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. Done. Now, Ikia is talking about the cost implications. She's spilling real hard this morning, the figures. And I don't even have much to say because you have explained. I think every Ghanaian by now has understood what that is. So, I mean, you understood it so well that you are even explaining it to Ikia, who is just pretending not to understand. You have 7 people doing the work that hundreds used to do. At the very base, salaries, vehicles, offices, stationery. So when Ikia does some voodoo mathematics and concludes that it's costing states more,
compared to what we spent last year.
I don't know what to say to her, because
it's true.
Because of what it is, because the numbers are so small and insignificant this time around, the budget now had to constitute the whole mass, the civil servants, all of these sectors, and their salaries. So when you look at it the way we've always looked at it in the past, you completely get it wrong. And I think the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye does a more eloquent job of explaining than I could ever have. And so I will leave that to here to go back and watch it and understand, because I think my job is done. I think the average Ghanaian has understood what that is. That in truth and indeed, taxpayers' money has been saved. 56 million. I don't think we are giving the government enough credit, for that. Let me go back to what I was doing. Establish a robust code of conduct, winnings and emissions levy. Done.
Except COVID.
Review taxes. This is where the thing is. Review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes in progress. And I explained, to you what is constituting the delay.
The bureaucracies. She says you can't use that as an excuse. Because John Mahama has been president before. So before making this promise, he should have known that there would be some bottlenecks, for which reason he shouldn't have made it in the first place.
No, so, with the best of intentions, right? You know that when everything else that has been done had bureaucratic issues that could have delayed it. Everything. Let's come back. Let's go to nominating and appointing ministers. It's not... Some of it is out of his hands. It has to go through Parliament. It has to go through parliamentary vetting and assent. The president could have nominated all his ministers on his first day of appointment, and we could still be delayed. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. We all saw the parliamentary process. We all saw how the minority tried to derail that process. How long they could sit one appointee down and quiz him. Let me give an example. In the instance of the fisheries minister, she was asked about the location of her house, and that took time. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
But she didn't know where her house was.
No, she knew exactly where her house was. But the Honorable Afenyomakin sought to make a whole case about how she's never invited him to his house, even though they live close to each other. To which the minister just had to say, you are invited to my house if you want to come to my house. I don't know why we are talking about this. If you want to come to my house, come to my house. Right? So there was every effort to derail the process, to prolong the process unnecessarily, and in the face of blatant provocation, there's temptation on the other side. Do everything you can to make the process run as efficiently as it should, but bearing in mind that sometimes it's just out of your hands. Sometimes it's not up to the executive alone. There are three arms of government. It could be delayed with the legislature, which is, what we see happening all the time. It could be delayed at the... So, you understand what I'm saying? So that could happen. But even then, even with all of these very intentioned bureaucratic blocks, all of these things have happened. And I want to go on.
Right.
Commencing drafting needed amendments, prepare for implementing the 24-hour economy policy under the office of the president. We say in progress, but guess what we mean by in progress? All we mean by in progress is that the big JPEG bill hasn't been done. That's the only thing. Everything else is ongoing. Let me be more specific. The labor bill amendments done, all under 24-hour economy. We have GPIC has launched a 24-hour premium service. Ministry of Foreign Affairs has launched 24-hour passport service. The DVLA has commissioned the 24-hour office, in Adenta. YEA is launching GRICS, also a 24-hour. Absolutely.
Ghana Publishing was always
Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Interior
semantics.
Is in talks with the police for the 24-hour police unit. So even when we mark ourselves as not done, even when we mark ourselves as not done and something being in progress, we are just being charitable with the facts. And this is what I would say. It seems as if this government has set a bar that is so high. And perhaps that's what we are suffering for. Perhaps that is what it is. Because under any normal circumstance, we should have marked this as done. That's levy. And you introduce those levies. You introduce those levies. Now, if it's so important to you to sit with a red pen and a green pen and mark which one has been done and which one hasn't been done, why did you introduce it in the first place? Why are we having to now come back and undo the mess that you have done? And then you want to sit in judgment.
Right.
And then you want to sit in judgment of that process.
But she mentioned that
do you understand what I'm
flag
saying?
bearer had also given an indication that it would have been scrapped.
But do you understand
what I'm saying? And so if Dr.
saying?
Bawumia had one, perhaps we would have seen the scrapping by now.
All of them.
Of the levies that he himself introduced. Is that the conversation we are having? Of the levies that he himself introduced. So let's be fair. I appreciate that this government is exceeding expectations. I appreciate that. Can we all appreciate that? Can we all appreciate that we will be having a completely different conversation in other, had things gone the other way? Can we appreciate that just a few months ago, under the NPP's administration, we're having completely different conversations? And give this government its due. 56 ministers. Can we pause on that? 56 ministers. That's how we are running this administration. Can we appreciate communications of government being run by 7 people?
At the cost of 78 million.
Can we appreciate that? And give this government its flowers. And I'll give this free advice to Ekia and to the NPP. That you see, you are rushing. Yeah? And again, this is an oversimplification of the issue. You are looking for something to hold on to. There's nothing to hold on to. You are grasping, and anything to hold on to. When eventually there might be, because let's be clear, it's and I've said this over and over and over again. Regardless, the best of intentions that you might have, things could happen that could derail your process. Something could happen in future. Nothing has happened yet. This government, in my books, is scoring 1,000 over 100, right? But in the future, should something happen, something real that you can actually hold on to, nobody will pay heed to you. Nobody will pay you any mind because you've been grasping for so long.
Right.
This government is doing well. It is in your best interest to acknowledge and admit that indeed the government is doing well. The government is exceeding expectations.
Okay.
Then you show the Ghanaian that, when things are going well, we have your best interest at heart. We will acknowledge it. We will get on board and make it happen. Then when you have something concrete to say, all of us can now, then we can have a conversation around, okay, you are right, perhaps it should have been done this. This is not the time for that. Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's not the time for that.
See, it's in the best interest of Ghanaians that they know that Amma is talking about 7 people at what's it called?
Running government communications.
Yes, at the cost of 78 million.
Okay,
it is in the best. No. Amma, you haven't explained Let me finish. Let me give you the numbers. Then you explain what you're using the extra money for. At the presidency, total budget 11.3 billion, as opposed to last year 8.3 billion. That's a jump of about over 3 billion. My math it's been a long time since I left.
Oh, your math is perfect.
Salaries alone, 2.7 billion. That's what we were talking about, from 327. And I already told Amma, I've told everybody this morning that we've already, when you add the entire national security, you add the entire defunct Ministry of Information, there's still 1 billion left there. We can go and check the budgetary allocation for last year of that. When you look at the entire budget, there's 40 billion more. So Amma, how do you explain the excess money? You see, you are trying to deceive Ghanaians by telling us that it's 7 people, but 7 people spending 78 million. Isn't it better that you employ more Ghanaians to spend that 78 million? That's the logic that's the logic I'm going with. Isn't it better that you employ people and you spread those funds around a little bit more?
But
salaries, 2.7 million. Isn't it better that you employ more people than so? If the 327 million was paying for more staff, how is it that you reduce the number and it is 2.7 billion, not 1.7 billion, not 700 million? It is from 327 to 2.7 billion.
The explanation for the 78 million is that they are now covering ISD, GBC, GNA, all those.
Do you know all those agencies? Do you know all those agencies were always under Ministry of Information?
No, they were not.
So where were they?
No, they were
not. They were
not.
under Ministry. I'll show you the budget allocation for Ministry of Information. No. And then let me tell you, CODA, all the development agencies were under Office of Government Machinery under President Nanado. Even AIDS Commission, there were about 7 agencies there. Agencies you've scrapped. So if that's the excuse you have for the 78 million, still there should be some balancing because you've removed 7 agencies from there. I'm telling you as a matter of fact that even though they've come out several times to try and explain this, nobody has been able to explain the extra 1 billion cedis.
Can't wake her. Unfortunately, she's pretending to sleep. There's nothing you can do to wake her up. The conversation has been had over and over and over and over and over again. So, in fact, even the 7 people that are there, can we even call them political appointees? I think the only political appointees in that 7 would be perhaps my boss, Felix Ofusukwache, Shamima, my colleague, myself. We will probably be the only political appointees in there. The extra 4 are, add-ons. Now, just to be clear, we are not in that budget. Perhaps somebody thinks that that's where the extra is going. No, we are not in there at all.
Right.
At all. All of this, budget is going to catering to civil servants that we inherited from Ikea administration. Right? The Honorable Felix Ofosu-Akwache has explained this over 1,000 times, has given the numbers of the civil servants, how much is going where, all of these agencies that were not under this jurisdiction in the past administration. We brought all of these agencies into, government communications as one umbrella, as one unit, which of course would mean that the budget would be more. But when you even do the math, and I'm very careful about doing math on TV because I keep explaining that my math is not that great. When you do the math, we again are saving the public purse. And if you give me a minute, I will do the calculations properly on my phone and come back so I don't, misstep or misspeak. Ikea is simply spinning this morning, simply being disingenuous. She, like every other Ghanaian who has heard this explanation over and over and over again, we all understand what the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Akwache has been saying over time. Ikea has refused to understand and will continue to, and which is why I give free advice. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has set a bar and has admonished all of us to play up to the bar that he has set, And so we will keep doing that. We will keep doing the best that we can. We will keep saving public purse. We will keep our eyes on the ball and do what is right. As for MPP, if he continues to sleep and continues to spin issues and continues to, play around with issues, we allow them to do that.
Okay.
Because ultimately, the facts speak for themselves.
Okay.
I wish we would move on, but Amma doesn't want this matter to die. So
I want to give you a final bite so that we talk about.
Yes, I'll make it very short. I'm looking at the budget of the Ministry of Information for 2024, which I can share so you can put on the screen so that all Ghanaians will understand that the extra money that's going to Office of Government Communication, all Amma is trying to do this morning is to justify the job, because the first column there, compensation of employees, it comes to a grand total of 148 million Ghana cedis. So you can keep that figure in your head. I've already also told you national security was about 700. Let's even make it 800.
We added national security to communication.
Because I'm saying to the salaries at the office of the president. That's the excuse Honorable Felix Ofosu-Akwache.
No, that's not the excuse.
He said that they've added, right?
To the fact.
What did he say? He said they've added national security and information. True or false?
Be fair to the fact.
Okay, so if it's only information, your case is even worse, because the whole information, all the civil servants you claim you inherited from us, we were spending less than 200 million to pay their salaries. It's less than, it's not even
all the agencies.
Yes, and looking down here, you will see GBC is there. So where do you think GBC draws their salary from?
Looking down where, can you please send it to me?
I'll send it to you.
No, send it to me.
This is the...
Ikea, just send it to me.
Ministry of Information. You can look at it.
Ikea,
this is the budget today. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you after. But when you add the whole Ministry of Information, you don't even
just send this information.
You don't even get to. You don't even get to 500 million. So then there becomes like an excess more than 2 billion. I've sent it to you.
Some miracle figures that only Ikea
No,
has,
I am showing you. Share. I've sent it to you. Check your WhatsApp. I'm sure this is the budget of the Ministry of Information last year. So when it comes to the crux of the matter, no, you have not explained where the excess money is going from. And the last bit, the entire budget of 2025, is it not 40 billion more than the entire budget of 2024? So even there's no walking and dancing around that. There's an extra 40 billion there. When you've removed 1D, 1F that was expending a lot of money, a lot of the Agenda 111 using a lot of money. You've removed a lot of the big ticket items, but you are still spending 40 billion more. So Amma, there's no explanation for this. Let's move on. What's next?
We will not move on. Unfortunately, she just sent a 40-page document.
It's the budget.
That I am unable.
The budget is not one page.
I am unable.
So it's a voluminous document you cannot digest.
Ikea is just spinning this one. She's being very
No.
It's interesting. I'm laughing, but it's really not. She's spinning. She's spinning. She's quoting figures that don't exist. She's quoting things that don't exist. She knows the truth. She knows that these agencies were not there before. They are there now. It's so unfortunate what you've just done. I am angry, but I am laughing. But it's disingenuous. The explanations have been given.
Right. And
7
you think
people
that should suffice?
No. It's not about that should suffice. That's the truth. That's the fact. It's not spin. It's not what Ikea is doing. It's not spin.
I'm not spinning.
Right?
I've provided evidence, Amma. So you cannot keep saying I'm spinning.
A government, inclusive of all the agencies. So it used to be budget for the Ministry of Information. Just the Ministry of Information. That's not what it is anymore. It's a budget that constitutes all of these information agencies, you know, got to do this. I don't even have a name for it. It's so
it's fact-based.
It's so unfortunate.
Amma, I've shown you the budget of last year. I'm giving you figures from the budget of last year. I have explained to you the difference in costs, and you haven't explained the difference in costs. It's as simple as that.
So let me do it again, just in case you didn't hear me the first time.
No, what are you using the extra 3 billion at the Office of Government Machinery for? What are you using it for? What do you need 34 people to plan a day of prayer for? Why do you have over 44 committees so far? So I'm saying
information and communication.
No, we are talking about
34 people planning a prayer.
We are talking about your promise of a lean and efficient government and how
you are not seeing the lean and efficient.
What is lean and efficient if you are spending more money? What is that?
No, hold on.
What is lean and efficient if you are spending more money? Amma has not been able to debunk that they are spending more money. They are spending more money. That's a fact. It cannot be disputed. And I would hope that as the moderator, you know that they are spending more money. So you just let that be. You are spending more money on that.
I just need information from here.
Okay.
Are we having conversations around the Ministry of Information and its budget? Are we having conversations around a committee that's planning a prayer meeting?
We are having a conversation.
Do you see what about 1 minute she's having a conversation?
You're looking at the 120 days.
Another minute she's
in there,
and then she's bringing figures from some Ministry of Security or somewhere. Yeah, come on.
Right.
You can do better. And I keep saying this. I'm not going to do that with her this morning. The facts are sacred. The bar is high now. This type of policies, we've left it behind.
No, because you haven't been able to explain, Amma. You haven't been able to explain it.
We are moving on.
What we are talking about is your promise to set up a lean and efficient government. The lean and efficient. No, we have not. Right now, we are not in power. You are in power, and you promise.
Do you see what I mean about the bar that we said?
That you are going to set up a lean and efficient government. You are trying to tell Ghanaians you fulfilled that promise, and I've given you data to prove that it is a lie. It is so far from the truth.
Right.
Ghanaians know that it is the truth.
No.
And we leave Ghanaians to be the judge.
Exactly. This morning we are leaving Ghanaians to be the judge. But let's talk about the protests. And then yesterday, Supreme Court also threw out the injunctions against the president's decision to suspend the CJ. I think
it's a very, very sad time for our democracy. It's a very, very sad time for our democracy. For me personally, this is not even about an MPP NDC matter. It is just about the principles of democracy. You know, some of us have always been ardent supporters of the right to self-determination. So no take up a gun and then take over the country business. No, just allow the systems to run. Let's strengthen the systems. But when the same group of people who, when their predecessors took over this country by force and blood, decided that during their reign they would allow the killing of 3 judges, for which we have a remembrance day for, they come again and they try to very unceremoniously usurp the judiciary, which is an arm of government, and they will give you so many ridiculous excuses to try and balance this act. One, talking about the case of Charles Osei, but I ask myself this very simple question: when was Charles Osei the Chief Justice or the head of one of the arms of government? If you try to make that equalization, what you are doing is reducing the gravitas and the quantum of that arm of government, because they are 3 and essentially they are supposed to be equal: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. I don't think there's a 4th one that says electoral commission, does it? And if you even look at those precedents, there are times where they've also removed Siraj Boss and those. So if we are talking about those ones, that's a different conversation. We are talking about a deliberate attempt prejudice. And so if they go on that tangent of saying, oh, but what has the president is just going by the constitution, it is not. You don't look at that article in isolation. You can then go to the article on the exercise of discretionary powers, yes, which tells you that you have to exercise this right without bias, without capriciousness, and without prejudice. And that is clearly not been done by their own words and their own things they said. Obviously, this is a clearly calculated attempt to usurp the independence of the judiciary, and that is what we will not stand for.
Right.
As I was saying about yesterday's judgment, because they also try to make this argument of you've packed the courts, you've packed the, which is as ridiculous as, you see, sometimes when people that are informed, they understand what is going on, and they are deliberately trying to obfuscate the facts. It's very painful, because it is not like Chief Justice would retire, or for some reason they would go out, and then it falls on the President in consultation with so many other bodies who appoint other Chief Justices. So you cannot say that the courts have been packed. And at the end of this entire, of our last term in office, it came back to about 13 justices of the Supreme Court, isn't it? Now, the same president who is now president, when he was campaigning, is on record to have said that the number should not pass 15. And if it should pass 15, there should be a referendum. He comes and the first thing he does is to get it to 19. So this just shows the calculated attempt to usurp the independence of the judiciary. There's nothing else there. The petitions themselves are as frivolous as can be, and everybody is just watching in awe. As like, how is all of this happening? And it is, if this is allowed to continue, personally, I don't think it should be entertained at all. And then it also puts an amount of fear in the judges now, because if your Chief Justice can be removed based on these frivolous petitions, you can just imagine then if you are on the bench, and then some politically exposed person, or even the girlfriend of some politically exposed person comes and you don't let the matter go their way. It's fear. At that point, you don't even need to receive a call of order from above, and you would just be motivated to do the right thing. Sorry, now.
So I want to find out, and I've been asking this question: if the MPP believes that the petitions brought against the Chief Justice are as frivolous as you say, shouldn't it then be a source of comfort that the Chief Justice will, at the end of all these processes, come out clean without any prejudice whatsoever?
When you see all the machination that is going on, when you see how a prima facie case was even found on these frivolous charges, when you listen to everything they said before, how is it not worrying? You see, like, the processes so far are even, they leave so much to be desired of the whole process. And also, I was trying to go back to the judgment yesterday.
Yes.
On the panel, more than 3 of the judges were appointed to the Supreme Court by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa, but some of them did not vote in petition, did not vote in favor of the injunction. So that just shows that judges are not clay. They are not malleable in the hands of the appointing authority. So if your argument is we are coming to balance the bench, it is as ridiculous as it comes, because even in the election petition case, one of the dissenters, one of the people that went against us in that case was appointed by, so you cannot say that because we have that, I don't want to say luck, or by virtue of the MPP president being the one to appoint the judges, the court is packed, and so therefore you have to undergo this ridiculous exercise to try and cower the judiciary. And personally, I would wish separation of powers. And once this chain starts, trust me, you then cannot expect somebody to be the bigger person.
Right.
And we just descend into some banana states, which is what the MPP has decided that no, we cannot allow our judiciary to be usurped. Even when there's a military coup, people see it's wise to leave the judiciary out of it. So that is going on. I mean, I find it a little surprising, because we were sold this false dream that His Excellency John Mahama was in to leave a legacy. But if this is the legacy he wants to leave, to allow Ghana to descend into a state of tyranny where you are in absolute control, that's not a step in the right direction.
Okay, Amma.
I have to agree with Akia that not everything has to be about politics.
Sure.
For me, there are issues that all of us need to agree that these ones cannot be about politics. And the judiciary would have to be one of those most important, most sacred institutions, in this country. Now, the president has said over and over and over and over again that he is interested in leaving a legacy. Everything he has done so far points to the fact that his interest is in leaving a legacy. What has happened? Really, what has happened? There's been petitions against the Chief Justice. Petitions that did not start now. Petitions have been coming in for the Chief Justice since the NPP's administration. Not today. What did the president do with the petitions? What does the Constitution say he can do? Can anybody point me to one thing that he has done that has stepped outside of the requirements of the Constitution? Can anybody point me to one thing that the president has done in this whole process that is outside of the remits of his power. Can anybody point me to something that he has done that shows that he has overextended the exercise of his powers? He has overstepped, he has breached anything. One thing. You see, the only people playing politics with this issue are the MPP.
But the GBA has also come out to say that the president erred, and so they want the president to also revoke the decision to suspend the CJ.
We can have that conversation about the constitution of this GBA that came to this conclusion.
But that's the
We can have that conversation about everybody within the GBA who has come out subsequently to say what they are saying. That's not for me to say. That's not a conversation I want to get into. Wrong. President John Dramani Mahama is leaving a legacy. He is playing above board. If you are going to criticize him with the constitution of this country, because he is acting based on the constitution of this country.
They said the president's promised that he was going to balance the bench, and so all of this is playing into a certain grand scheme.
Let me ask you, would you want a balanced bench?
I don't understand what the balanced bench means.
Perfect. I want a balanced bench. I don't want a lopsided bench. As I sit here, and I'm sure that there's no Ghanaian that wants a lopsided bench.
Because
all of us want our constitution.
Right. But the issue also is that our justices, our judges are very independently minded, regardless of who appoints them. So then, what is the imbalance? Is it the number that was?
We are having a conversation. Me and you are on the same side. We are having the same conversation. If the president says, "I want to balance," unless we can impugn into his motive, get into his mind, and identify within his mind wrongdoing, I don't see why we are always in a hurry to impugn wrongdoing to everything that he says and he does. As I sit here, if I have a president that says, "I want to balance the judiciary," I'm happy. Because I want a balanced judiciary. I do not want a lopsided judiciary. For what? So it's like every time, regardless his best intentions, regardless everything that he wants to do to safeguard the constitution and to safeguard our democracy, we want to give him a wrong meaning. We want to take his words and twist it as much as we can and make it wrong. When his intentions are not wrong. I mean, unless somebody can prove it to me that his intentions are wrong. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
So for you, the Supreme Court judgment yesterday was apt. Throwing out the injunctions.
It is not for me to say.
Right.
I go by what the Supreme Court said. I will not sit here and act like I know more than the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, once the judiciary is balanced, everything the judiciary does is what the judiciary has done. The law is the law.
Right.
That's it.
I think
I'm not even done. I'm not done at all. But you see, when you have a state that is running, because constitutionally, everything that he was supposed to do, he did. Take the petitions, consult, Council of State, establish a prima facie case, act on it. There was issue about, hearing the other side. That has been done. She had, days, I think it was 10 days within which to respond, to the allegations that were being made. She did that, the petition, she did that, she's done that. It's gone to court. The issue then became, why are you going on with the process when we are in court? We are in court doing what? We are in court throwing issues, hoping for one of them to stick, which by itself is unconstitutional. Because you are supposed to go injunction, not knowing what the injunction you yourself you are seeking. You don't know what injunction you are seeking. You are just in all of this process. Can anybody demonstrate at which point anybody overstepped outside of the Constitution? Can anybody show within the processes that I myself have highlighted this morning, at any point at which anything was done that is contrary to the Constitution of this country? Anything. So again, wild goose chase, demonstrations as always. We are in what? We are less than 100 days. How many demonstrations have we had so far? It's lovely. And the exercise of democracy. I'm a student of democracy. I love it when we want to explore and see how far we can push our boundaries, keep pushing. The beautiful thing about this administration is that this administration is very, very, very tolerant. This administration is very ready to uphold the constitution and the democracy that, all of us are eager for.
Right.
I'm happy the way that, first of all, the deputy AG in the first instance of the first demonstration came out and even offered water. Do you need water to drink? Are you okay? Do you need me to do anything for you? I love the way that, Deputy Chief of Staff, Sandobe, also received the protesters. He said, you see how you are here, free? Let me tell you, it's only in this administration that people come for a protest and say, give us 3 hours to show a video. When we are done, we'll present the petition. Have you heard of something like this before? The very place that's supposed to be security bound, the Flagstaff House, for which in the NPP's administration, people couldn't go on demonstration, is the same place that our protesters have found, good enough to go and protest and present a petition. But that's the beauty of this administration, and how it's choosing, to uphold the constitution that we all want to see being upheld. For me, I will not pass judgment until those who are supposed and those who have been given the money to pass judgments have passed their judgments. Everything else we are doing right now is much ado about nothing. At the end of the day, the rule of law will prevail. At the end of the day, the constitution will prevail, and we all live by the dictates of the constitution.
So firstly, it's not true that nobody was allowed to protest in front of the Jubilee House. When the NDC held protests and they did submit their petitions at the Jubilee House, so it's not true. I've seen a lot of them trying to spin that. It's not true. But when the characters that were leading a certain demonstration were even held under charges of treason, then you see why they should not be allowed in front of the Jubilee House. They are two different matters, and so they should not be combined. There was a time where the NDC undertook a nationwide demonstration in every capital. They had a demonstration. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted. So that is just dead on arrival. Let's forget it. Amma is also telling us that nothing in the Constitution has been briefed. This morning, let me just use my Class 2 law just on here a little. Article 296, which everybody can refer to. When in this Constitution or in any other law, discretionary power is vested in any person or authority. So by the President's decision to suspend the Chief Justice, he has used discretionary power. A, that discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of the law. And the last one goes on to talk about the constitutional instruments and statute, like sort of rules that should guide the exercise of this discretionary power. And so, by everything that His Excellency John Mahama said before coming into power, by everything key members in the NDC said before coming into power, by we will reset the judiciary, we will balance the back, there is prejudice there. They were calling this Chief Justice Osono Mame, unanimous FC, blah blah. You didn't hear that? Those are all prejudicial statements that will point to a dislike, a personal dislike. It is all written clearly in the Constitution. So respectfully, when you say His Excellency John Mahama has not breached the Constitution, I respectfully disagree. And a lot of learning... 296. No, I said members of the NDC. I said members of the NDC.
The President has shown that he dislikes the Chief.
No, I said members of the NDC have said that. The President himself said he will reset the judiciary. He has said, so there are so many prejudicial statements that were made, and Nama, you cannot dispute.
Members of the NDC.
And even by the President himself, he said he will reset the judiciary. The videos of those things are there. And so that is evidence of prejudice, number one. Number two, you go into the content. Some of these petitions were laid before His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And looking at it as a learned lawyer that he is, said, it should just be used to selling Katia. There's nothing in this. And he rubbished it together with the Council of States. And you come and you look at the same thing, and by some capricious means, you find a prima facie case. In some of these petitions, it is about official travel. When you look at the actual travel policy of the head of the judiciary, it falls within. Some of it is by judgments. That's the direction that you were taking with this matter. Some of the people in NDC have also been even talking about this third term agenda, and so it looks like a targeted thing. Some very key leading members of the NDC, I don't want to drop names here, have also said, oh no, this is just the first blow so that we can remove the electoral commissioner. So there's so much prejudice out there. All you have to do is look and listen, and you can see.
Did not see that.
No, see, exactly the point. You are putting so much fear in the bench.
So you think those on the bench currently are under some level of fear?
Sorry, if you're the CEO of this place, it's removed based on some ridiculous grounds by maybe an investor, won't you start watching your back? And on this case, very interestingly, the acting Chief Justice, who we can say is a material beneficiary of the processes, was presiding. You know, one of the judges was changed last minute. So, I mean, there's a lot of murkiness going on. So they cannot sit down and raise their hands and say, oh, we are just following the Constitution. No. It is a deliberate attempt to usurp the authority of the judiciary.
To what end?
That's what you should ask me. To what end? I've heard some of them. I cannot presume to know what is in their mind. But from what they've said, I can tell you some of it so that they can remove the EC, the Electoral Commission, instead of you to focus on the bread and butter issues. Look at what they are thinking about. Number 2, to balance the judiciary, to reset the judiciary. You see, all of these things that to me hold no water, because again, I have told you, there should be no thinking of even balancing the judiciary, because as we saw by yesterday's judgments, it looks like new rules, and they are not malleable clay, so they will do whatever they want regardless of who appointed them. But you don't seem to be able to believe that you have managed to convince your entire party base that this person is terrible and must go. But the position of Chief Justice is not a popularity contest, so you cannot come and tell us that you've done some poll and blah blah blah. Majority of Ghanaians, how many of them know the Chief Justice? We can go on the streets right now.
What Ekua is talking about.
We can go on the streets right now and ask the first 10 people what's the name of the Chief Justice. It will surprise you. I hope that your media house can do so. You cannot say it's a popularity contest and so people want her out. No.
But John Mahama says that he is just allowing due process.
And I have just
but for the petitions that were presented to him,
I have just told you that the petitions were presented to His Excellency. Some of them were presented to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and nothing was found in it. Number 2, I have told you. Council of State, 90% of the Council of State are not NDC members, please. Let's leave that there. And I'm going to respectfully say, in this case, I disagree with the conclusion that the Council of State came to based on the contents of these petitions.
So you say there was no basis for even establishing a prima facie.
I'm telling you that if 5 members of the bench are seated and they come up with a decision, why is one of them petitioned for removal? One of it is because the council in that case was reprimanded or something like that, and apparently other justices on the bench even reprimanded more, but you missed that, and you cannot hold him into government.
Well,
and so that's what you are doing.
Commentary that was run
of NDC members,
and then also the president saying he's going to reset the judiciary, he is going to balance the scale and all of those things. For the MPP, it plays into the prejudice against the Chief Justice.
So let's break this down, and I'll start from advice too, because Ekua is also advising that we should keep focus on the bread and butter issue, which is what we would really like to do. Keep focus on bread and butter.
But you want to scapegoat the Chief Justice
first. If the MPP would not keep distracting with all of these unnecessary, still eyes wide fixed on the bread and butter issues. But I also issue, a nice to the NPP to also concentrate on putting its base together and getting its acts together. You can't keep asking members to show up for demonstrations when you don't even have members as stands now, when the front itself is completely dismembered. Let's start from there. But to say that when you take constitutional provisions one after the other, and you say that constitutional provisions have been breached, and for you what has been breached is, 1, the fact that it's prejudicial. Mind you, how do you prove something is prejudicial? I believe there should be a test. There should be an objective test for which we can say that the president is being prejudicial. What is Ekua's evidence for saying the president is being prejudicial?
He said he will reset the bench. He will balance it.
Does that sound prejudicial to you?
Yes.
Let's be fair-minded as Ghanaians. The president says, I will balance the judiciary. That's a prejudicial statement that shows that he's prejudiced against the Chief Justice. Is that what we are saying? That's 1. 2, you say personal dislike. What's your evidence? NDC members called her Osunomame. So that's for you is evidence that the president has personal dislike for the Chief Justice. Come on. Are we being serious? So, I mean, again, nothing has been breached constitutionally. Not the word of the Constitution, not the spirit of the Constitution. We are on a wild goose chase as always. We are on a spinning expedition as always. Instead of calling our members and the rank and file of our party and see what we can do with the reins of our party, we want to put gloss on damage. We will take your advice. We will keep our eyes firmly fixed on the prize. Firmly fixed on the prize. But you see, I keep saying this. I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. We need a viable opposition for that to happen. It's important.
And the MPP is not being a viable opposition so far?
You are saying the president
so
is
they're keeping you on your toes.
The president is prejudiced, personal dislike against the Chief Justice. And your evidence is that members of the NDC have called her Osonomame. That's the reason why you are saying that this case
resets the judiciary.
That's your reason for saying that this case.
Next time I'll organize a group of videos of all the prejudicial things that the president has said.
Perhaps we don't understand the import of the exercise that's going on. This is very important for our democracy. This exercise that's going on. It's crucial to our democracy. And I keep saying that, for me, there are some institutions that should not be toyed with.
Okay.
And the judiciary is number one.
Right.
That's why I am preventing myself from commenting on the petitions and the validity of the petitions.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand.
Because the committee has been set up to look into those ones.
I could go into the issues and have conversations, because Equia has done that this morning. I could take, for instance, Equia, some of the petitions were brought during Akufo-Addo's time.
Yes.
But those are not the petitions that are being addressed right now. New petitions have come subsequently.
Okay.
You want to talk about the specific petitions and how damning they are. We could do that, but I don't think that that's an exercise that would help the process at all.
Okay.
We have instituted a committee to do that. Let the committee do its work. We have instituted, a council of state that has, in consultation with the president, determined. Look at the people we have on our council of state. Look at the pedigree of people that are sitting on the council of state, including Madam Sophia Kufu,
who abstained. Because she saw how frivolous these petitions were.
Let's be clear.
She abstained.
Yes.
But she didn't tell us why.
As to the reason
because she saw how frivolous. Do you think if the former Chief Justice thought there was any merit, she would have abstained?
We'll go for a quick break and then we'll come back. And then we'll zoom into the issues. We also have one more topic to deal with, and then we'll come back. So this is GHOne today, the breakfast review segment of the show. We'll go for a quick break. When we do return, we'll get into the conversations deeper.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rawlings' state funeral, Miss Africa awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. The van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew. ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup. Because on a production you see a number of people in the van. And so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked. and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with this EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.
Of GH Today here on GHOne television. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and this morning I'm having a discourse with Amma Pratt, who is press secretary to the vice president, and also Dr. Ikuya Amwakon. She is the 2024 manifesto spokesperson on health for the NPP. And today we are looking at issues ranging. We've just talked about the Chief Justice, the issues surrounding that, and the petitions that were sent to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, you know what, in a majority decision, we need to throw these injunctions out. So as it stands now, the process will be allowed to go through. John Mahama has set up a committee, 5-member committee, to do the work in terms of investigations. And Ikea, the committee, does that give you any hope whatsoever? The 5-member committee and the composition of the committee. We have 2 Supreme Court justices. We have Daniel Yaldomelevo on the committee. We have one from academia and one from the Ghana Army.
See, a lot of them are politically exposed. And as I already discussed with you, the aura and fear around these discussions are something that, again, I feel like will prejudice the work of the committee. I am hoping that they are the last bastion that can save our democracy. Right. So I'm hoping they are able to rise above all the manipulations and do the right thing. I'm sincerely hoping. I'm not holding my breath. With everything that we've seen going on, I am not holding my breath. But I'm just hoping that we still have people that would want to do the right thing in the face of a lot of opposition and a lot of pressure. Because, as I said, it is very, very delicate. Not just because it's an independent arm of government, but because of the risk of tyranny that it will unleash. we do not want the judiciary to be coterminous with the executive, and that seems to be the line that people want to go on.
Right.
Because it could be, we can descend into a kind of chaos where a president comes, you remove the Chief Justice, you find reasons to remove some of the justices of the Supreme Court you don't like, you find reasons to remove appeal court judges you don't like, you grant a pardon to whoever has been put in jail, like the Nolly Prosecutor, the Attorney General did. We don't want that kind of system. And if you look at Ghana's history, this is not the first time maybe the head of the judiciary is appointed by a previous administration, and this, even under President Atta Mills's time, they tried again with this removal of the NDC in the judiciary. I don't know what's from the time of the killing. It's been continuous. They always have a problem with the judiciary, which I cannot understand. There was even a time, and then President Professor Atta Mills said he's not a cat hunter. I don't know if you remember that statement. So there always seems to be like an appeal from the base of the NDC to tamper with the judiciary. I'm hoping that they see that this is not the way to go.
Okay.
Because we've had times where Prof. Mills, President Mahama's first term, the Supreme Court's the Chief Justice was appointed by another administration. They worked perfectly and things were fine. So why tamper with it? And I haven't really checked the age of the current Chief Justice, but there's a possibility that her time would elapse, and then you would have your chance at appointing somebody. But once you toil with this, then you cannot expect anybody to take the high road. Is all I say on this matter. So again, I'm hoping that His Excellency John Mahama does not allow this to be his legacy. Thus, as the president does set off this terrible chain of events, as the president that usurped the authority of the judiciary over these frivolous petitions. I'll leave it.
Can you assure Ikea that the committee that has been set up will live even above expectation?
Absolutely. But you see, Ikea keeps insisting that everybody is politically exposed. That's our reality. That's the reality, right? And she speaks about a trend, the NDC and the judiciary. But there's also a trend of the NPP and the judiciary. Let's be fair. How many appointments has any NDC administration, done in terms of appointments to the judiciary? Now let's compare that to the appointments the NPP has done, to the judiciary. It's almost as if the NPP tends to pack the judiciary every time that it can. The NDC doesn't do that. That's a fact. The NDC doesn't play politics with the judiciary. But the facts say that the NPP does the opposite, pack the judiciary consistently. Now, if a president says, I will balance it, regardless my political affiliation, I would be happy. Because let's be clear, the point of the judiciary is so that all of us have some semblance of fair hearing. It's so crucial. And I love the fact that as a people, as Ghanaians, we are not stagnant in terms of our choice of political leaders. We are the only country, this side of the sun, that can consistently change batons with politicians and political parties. So as a Ghanaian, I want a fair judiciary. It's important to me that the judiciary is balanced. Now, if a president says that, how is that prejudiciary? You see, now, are we not happy that a whole NPP, and NPP is one of, perhaps, maybe because of my age, one of those the most vibrant and most vociferous in opposition when it's in opposition. I love it, it's beautiful. I myself have gone on some of their demonstrations. I have to be fair, But the truth is, isn't it interesting that today's NPP organizes a demonstration about judicial independence, judicial fairness, and the premise of their demonstration is prejudice. Prejudice hinged on presidential dislike for the Chief Justice based on party membership's commentary of her being Osonomami. Is this how low we have dropped? You see, for me, it's a new era. I can't speak myself hoarse and forgive my voice this morning. It's a new era. We are in a time of elevating our politics. As Ghanaians, we are tired of the NPP, NDC that leaves us worse off, that leaves us with no money in our pockets, no food in our bellies, no clothes on our back, no shelter on our heads. So today's Ghanaian doesn't have time for this type of frivolous politicking. We want to raise the bar. We want to set a new high. We want to set a new standard. So please, let's do that. The president has not acted out of his powers. The president has not done one thing that the NPP can identify as stepping out of the constitution of this country. The president has acted well within the powers that the constitution gives him. He didn't set out those petitions, unless Ekia is saying that there's evidence that the president... Do you know what I'm saying? These are petitions, some of which existed even under the NPP's administration. New ones have come in. Are you saying that the president should ignore everything that is said about, the people that we have placed in such sensitive places to uphold our constitution? Do we realize how sensitive the position of a chief justice is and what it means for the well-being of our country, law and order in this country? So the president acted clearly within the confines of the constitution. He took the petitions in consultation with the Council of State. A determination was made that on the face value, there's an issue to be answered.
Okay.
She was given an opportunity to look at the petitions that have been placed against her and to respond, which she did. Responded in writing. Next step was done. The constitution states clearly she may be suspended if indeed it is determined that on the face value of the petitions there's a question to be answered. That has happened. In direct consonance with constitutional requirements, she's been asked to go on suspension. Now a committee has been set up to now look at the substantive matters that have been raised so a determination can be made. And we are on demonstration. Because party members called her Osunomami.
No, because you said you will reset the judiciary. Amma, it is because you said you will reset the judiciary.
So please,
it is because you said you will pack the bench.
Say that as a Ghanaian, I'm happy to wait. I will not even comment on the worthiness or unworthiness of the petitions. That's not my business. That's for the mandated committee to do. I will wait for the committee to do its work.
Right.
I trust in the process. At the end of the day, all of us will be better, for the great outcomes that will come out of all of this processes.
Right. So in line with due process, GHOne Mahama, the president of the land, launched the Code of Conduct for public office holders. And it's quite interesting because it also came at a time where we're told that some of the appointees had not declared their assets even after the March 31 deadline that was issued. Now, there have been questions. Well, we've seen this before. We've seen this in the past where the Code of Conduct was launched, but we did not see strict adherence and we did not see the whip cracked on those who were found culpable one way or the other. How different is this time around?
So, where do I start from? Let me start from the Declaration of Assets.
Yes.
And I think the Fourth Estate is the, that's doing the Lord's work. Because what it's doing, and I said to some of them when I had the opportunity to speak with them, what they're doing is the Lord's way. Keeping the executive on its toes, keeping the executive accountable is the right thing to do. That's what should happen. And so I agree, that they do that. But I think that we should do that in fairness.
Okay.
And we should do that in truth. It's very important. So I'll give my personal example. I had a call, I was Nada, for, work. When I had a call from the Fourth Estate, somebody from the Fourth Estate, saying to me that I hadn't declared my assets. And I said to him, no, I have declared my assets. I have a receipt for it in my office. He said, can you produce? I said, I can't produce. When I get to Accra, I would, forward it to you. This took us back and forth for about a day until eventually he calls and says, oh, you are right. I now know that indeed you did. And he even told me the dates on which, I had done, the declaration and all of that. And then he mentions two other people's names from my office. I think I can't mention them because it's in the public domain now. He mentions, Chairman of Fusuampofu. And I say to him that he did too, right? But there were some irregularities. They were brought back. Unfortunately, when they brought them back, he was out of the jurisdiction for health, reasons. And so he couldn't do the corrections and send it. But he's just returned to the country. He has done it. And it's gone. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I proceeded to now send to them the forms. Once you send it, they give put some for example for picture. Actually on the how do you call it? And you wonder,
Right.
You know, what's the purpose of the exercise? What's the point of what we are doing? So that's on one end. Just to say that, not to say that some people have not submitted. I can't say that as I sit here. I'm not at the audit service. I can't speak for every appointee, but I can speak for myself. I can speak for Chairman of Osampo. I can speak for somebody like the Honorable Boja Jemfi, who has also had reason to make a Facebook post about the fact that
indeed, he put out his receipts. And Fourth Estate admitted that, well, some names were got wrong, but then there were some who had also.
But you understand the argument I'm making? That if we are going to ask for people to do the right thing, can we then do the right thing too?
Okay.
And especially, and we can get it wrong. I'm media. I get it wrong too. We all get it wrong every now and then, even with our best of intentions. That is not to say that we are prejudiced, using a kid's words, or we have some personal dislike. No, it just so happens that sometimes, you know, we can get it wrong. But when it is pointed out to you that you've gotten it wrong, can you please just do the right thing? Because these are very weighty things that weigh on the integrity of, you know, people who are in public service. We don't take it lightly at all. President Mahama's appointees do not take issues of integrity lightly at all. So just to say that. And then to proceed to say that, well, the president has cracked the whip. He has. He says that everybody who did not submit by the time they were supposed to loses 3 months of a salary we haven't even received. Plus 1 month of everybody's salary that's already been donated on our behalf to the Mahama Cares Trust
Ghana Medical Trust
Fund. Right, Ghana Medical Trust Fund. So the whip has been cracked. Guess what? He has declared today, my birthday, the day on which, if you haven't declared, consider yourself sacked. So as we speak now, if there's any government appointee who hasn't gone and done the needful, the person has, you know, in essence, sacked himself and sacked herself, right? Can we say the same for past administrations? Can we? Can we point to anything that even looks anything like this in previous administrations? Do you see what I mean by we constantly set the bar too high? Do you see what I mean by that? Equia is going to go on now about how people should have declared their assets on time. And how. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're preempting what she would say.
Well, we wait to see if she would. But the point would be that Equia, under the NPP's administration, did this happen? So, as to the commitment of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to an ethical executive, no questions asked. Spot on. Again, 1,000 over 100. Which is what this code of conduct, by extension, is.
Okay.
He is not leaving issues to good faith. He is not leaving issues to your own judgment. Where you talk about you can escape through the cracks by citing the grace. Oh, I just received a car. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that receiving a car is wrong. So how would I have known that I'm wrong? Well, the Code of Ethics says no, you couldn't have. He is spelling everything out in black and white. There are some things in there that are actually moral and not legal. He is making it a crime. So beyond what the laws of this country says you can do and you can't do, President Mahama has raised the bar again for his appointees. You can't just use the Constitution to escape. He's giving you a code of conduct that tells you what you can do, what you can't do. Okay. In fact, it is so detailed that it says you can't even spend money on hampers.
Yes. No IGF.
No, you can't.
On
no, you can't. Your push train, how you deal with issues, which is why this one has been so measured. So measured. So measured.
Right.
Because there are so many things that Kriya said I wanted to give her, but I'm minded by the code of ethics that I have to, go by. And I think that it's a beautiful expression of democracy. I am happy to be a part of this administration. I can't tell you how joyful I am that this is the one that I'm part of. Because I think that our country, this is not what Kwame Nkrumah, went through all of that hassle for. This is not what our fathers struggled for. This is not the Ghana that we want. Now, President John Mahama has elevated public service once more. And I pray that every one of us appointees read that document and live by it like the Bible. Because if we do, really, our country will take on the kente cloth.
Okay.
And dance Agbaja. Proper Agbaja.
Right.
And it's important that we do that, because oftentimes we talk about development in terms of the numbers. What Ikea is good at. Oh, what economy, budget, figures, currency, those things. But there's a whole moral code. There's a whole ethical code of building a country that's important.
Okay.
I think that if you get the morals right and you get the ethics right, if you get the base right, the rest becomes easy.
Okay.
Corruption, let's never forget, is one of the most important factors of our economy. Corruption alone is a whole budget deficit by itself. Now, if we get the moral right and we get the ethics right, that's corruption eliminated. Then we can have conversations about development and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm very excited. I know that inside Ikea she's very excited too.
Okay,
and this clearly shows good things.
Does it point to a good signal for you?
I'll get to. I just want to take 1 minute to put on the record that it is not true to say that the MPP packed the courts. It's from a simple Google search. Anybody can see. No, I'm just using 1 minute to put that on record. That ex-President GHOne Rawlings appointed over 21 justices of the Supreme Court who came and then have served their time and their duties to the country and have left. Between President Atta Mills and President John Mahama's first term, there's about 7 who were appointed. And it's by no fault of His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo that the terms expired under him and he had to replace them. He also did nothing unconstitutional by fulfilling his constitutional mandate to sort of recommend Parliament who should be appointed to the Supreme Court. So by that statement alone, that's another declaration of prejudice. I just want to leave that there. Okay. So it is absolutely not true that MPP packed the courts. No, you appointed some, your people went on retirement, other means and things, and they were replaced as per the constitution. So if now you are telling it's the same constitution, so let's just dispel that. Now come to the code of conduct. I don't know if this new quote has become my very favorite thing to say, that the proof of the pudding is in the eating, is it not? You can write all this. I'm looking at the code of conduct, Brofo Bebre on the paper. It does not mean anything except people live by it. When this administration started, there are a lot of troubling things we've already seen. About declaration of assets and whatnot. I think given the whole procedure needs to be looked at, so I'll not even go too much into it. And it is on record that yes, during His Excellency Nana Drankwe's time, he also asked for his appointees to declare their assets. Most of them did it. Again, just like in every family or in every group, you have a few stubborn people. So at that time, there was also a few people who didn't, and then they were asked to do it. In fact, I've seen an article by the Fourth Estate here that says about 294 political appointees rushed to declare their assets under His Excellency Nanado's. So it's nothing new. 290.
Even with all the errors.
I'm just saying.
It doesn't number up to 50.
No, but you're spending more. That's that argument. I must stop it. So we were spreading the money around more people. You were 7 people chopping 78 million.
Right, so let's not digress.
Yes. So I'm just saying that. So I'm just saying. So this is not. It's nothing new. It's something that's supposed to give Ghanaians some confidence in us. It's nothing new. So I would just leave that there. What is troubling for me is other issues of very serious breaches of this code of conduct that have already occurred, that I have not seen any executive will or determination to solve the matter. Like the one I find most troubling, because Galamsey was one of the major issues going into the 2024 election, and there have been a lot of troubling instances, especially with regards to Galamsey, and nothing has been done to the perpetuators in this government who seem to have been condoning it. There was this viral video going around about one of the Ashanti regional operators from the NDC government boldly insulting people on radio. I don't have it here, so I'll just leave it at that and focus on this post that I'm about to read to you. Why would the national security take over a licensed, organized underground small-scale mine, driving away the workers, and ask people with pump-action guns to mine the facility? Ashanti Regional Security Liaison, Captain Retired Mohammed Jabari, if I butchered your name, please forgive me, but this is also an appointee of the government, isn't it? He tells me he was asked by his bosses in Accra to secure the mine. His boss in charge of operations says he has given no such order. What's going on? National Security drove out the owner and workers of the mine at Akata Chieso in their Dansi North district, put armed men with pump-action guns. They have illegally started mining. They've illegally started the private equipment and have been operating the licensed private underground mine for 4 days now. Don't you think this is a more serious breach of the code of conduct than somebody who did not declare their assets? But we've not heard anything about this, and this has been up in the public domain. We've been discussing it for almost 5 days now. So as I said, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. It is not about organizing a meeting and letting them sit there so you can take pictures to tell them about code of conduct and whatnot. It is to make sure that the people are actually doing what you ask them to do.
Right.
We've seen a lot of the lawlessness that has been going on since the NDC came into power. The MMDCs are appointed and party people rush there to dispute it. There seems to be a lot of lawlessness, and I would have hoped that they would have called their members to order by now, because you see, it's not by coup that you won this election. It was a democratic process, even though everything they do so far seems to point to the fact that they haven't been able to get that into their heads that this was not a giddy affair. It was, you won by a democratic process, so lead by a democratic process.
Okay.
So if you want us to clap for you because you've returned cars, number one, you did not even tell us who gave you these cars. Influence peddling is such that by receiving that gift, the person already feels that they're in your good graces. So whether or not you take that gift and you put it to the use of the state or not, that access to power or proximity to power has already been granted. I hope you would agree to that. And now you have not told us that it's not too much. And again, what's this fascination with this government and cars? We remember the Ford expedition now. It looks like the favorite way to get into the hearts of this government is by giving them a car.
You know this because all the cars are returned. That's the only way you know. If the cars are kept, like they're kept in your administration, nobody will know.
Which car was kept?
Nobody
All right,
will know.
ladies,
We don't have any evidence of that.
Thank you so much. It's been a roller coaster here on the Breakfast Review segment. My guest this morning, Dr. Ikuya Amwa-Konshe, is 2024 NPP spokesperson on health, and also Amma Pratt, the birthday girl. There, she's taking the flowers. Press secretary to the vice president. By the way, how's the vice president doing? She's doing well. We thank God. Thank God. All right, so that's it for the Breakfast Review segment. But let's get into the birthdays this morning. And if it's your birthday on the 7th of May 2025, happy birthday to you. We wish you God's grace and blessing as you embark on that new chapter. So let's check out this one, and I'll let Doc read this out for her very good friend.
Blessed birthday, Amma Pratt, Press Secretary to the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Ajimai. Wishing you a day filled with love, laughter. I can see a lot of laughter already. And all the things that make your life fulfilled. Cheers to another year of amazing memories. And my wish is that you hope you live to see the glorious new NPP government in the next 4 years.
Ready to put a bummer on my birthday wishes.
All right, this one says, happy birthday, my dearest. As you blow out the candles, I hope all I want to say thank you to the crew. Yesterday they surprised me with a huge cake. I'm yet to finish consuming that. So Ibrahim Al-Hassan and the crew, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis' state funeral, Miss Africa awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge but very affordable. Cost is
You with an interview that I had on State of Affairs on Monday night with Isaac Adongo. He is the chairman of the Finance Committee, also a member of the governing board of the Bank of Ghana. Now, we talked about the outcome of the IMF spring meetings. We talked about the World Banks and its support. We also talked about the CD and how it's faring. We've seen exchange rates falling. What's really accounting for that? Well, he tells me more from the meetings in the United States of America, as well as the measures that this administration is taking to ensure that our liquidity in terms of finances are really strengthened. I'll leave you with that interview now. we're talking about the game changer, the gold
Yeah,
board,
the gold board.
and then the point of departure between you and your colleagues in Parliament when it came to trying to make sure that there is a provision that would make the Finance Ministry step in. Talk to me about that.
Yes, so we anticipated that depending on the global dynamics, there may be an opportunity to scale up the purchase and export of gold by the gold board.
Right.
And we thought that a provision should be in there that empowers the Minister of Finance to extend a helping hand to the gold board and provide them with additional resources to take advantage of that. And I'm saying that we've not even gone anywhere, and the projections that we are seeing, and if you have read David Roach's own analysis of the U.S. economy, and he's a famous economist from Quantum Strategy, he says that America is likely to see between 10 to 15% sell-off of its investment because of the geopolitical tensions that are happening, the tariff war, the tripartite tariff war between America, China, and Canada on the other hand. There is going to be an urgent need for people to sell off their investment in dollar-denominated transactions, but also that there is a growing appetite across the globe to de-dollarize the global economy and begin to build other blocks that support, a more inclusive global economy, not one that is largely dictated by Donald Trump and his people. And if that happens, what it will mean is that the world will be worse ashore of dollar-denominated resources that are looking for investment in emerging markets. And I'm saying that we, as part of the emerging markets, cannot benefit from that from the normal financial instrument market because we've been blocked from operating in that space. And yet we need the forex to be able to stabilize our economy. So there may be an opportunity in there for people to want to buy precious metals. And God has blessed us with gold, diamond, and bauxite. So what it simply means is that His Excellency John Dramani Mohamed's vision was not even a long-term vision. It didn't have to take 10 years for people to see.
So it's starting materializing
already. So they now must understand why we're insisting that provision should be put there. And I remember at some point just trying to get it through and be in the middle of all this to try and moderate my colleagues on the other side and the government side. I reached out to Sami Jemfi, and he was very emphatic, together with the Minister of Finance, that it would cripple the capacity of the gold board to take advantage of emerging opportunities that will present itself. And I'm seeing that already happening even before the end of the year. And the reason he was so passionate about it is that it is the only route through which we can tap into this dollar-denominated forex that will be available looking for investment in the emerging market. So the gold board will turn out to be the singular most important anchor of our foreign currency for a long time to come.
And it's quite interesting because it's one of the first appointments John Mahama did.
And you know that young man is sharp, okay?
Talking about Sami Jemfi.
You just need to give him a briefing. If Sami Jemfi just calls you to say, this issue, what do you think about it? And if you give him the briefing and you sit behind the TV and watch him, you'll be imagining whether he is now briefing you or he is speaking your briefings. That is how sharp he is. And he's grown very quickly into this area. One of the things that we are discussing at the moment is that we know that gold trading has a lot of treasury and risk management challenges. And there are several compliance issues that we need to assist the gold board to develop a treasury and robust risk management regime. But also that together with the central bank, there must be a much more longer horizon to appreciate that this benefit that we are getting may also in the end could become our Achilles heels because gold prices are not going to rise indefinitely, and gold prices, as we have seen in the past, for those of you who were around in the 1990s, 98, 99, my uncle, Dr. Sam Jonah, when he was managing Goldfields, they entered into some forward sales of their gold And when you enter into those contracts, in order to ensure the sanctity of the contract, you create what we call a margin account, where a certain percentage of the contract is put there in order to ensure the contract is executed. And so the price developments at the time, all of a sudden, the Bank of England decided to offload its gold in the vault. And the price of gold went tumbling, and AGC was called upon to do margin calls. And they didn't have $250 million, So even though they had a lot of gold buried on the ground, it simply didn't have the financial resources to protect and provide a right to underwrite those agreements. And that was what led to the sale of AGC to Anglo Gold Ashanti. So we are aware that there could be some danger in the horizon. And we need to develop the capacity for Ghana to know when to slow down, on building their reserves a lot into gold, exiting and making sure that we are safe and dry. So we are looking at all of that. And I do believe that the Gold Board, unlike Cocoa Board in the past, will be one of the most efficient risk-based institutions that His Excellency John Mahama will deliver to the people of Ghana.
Now, let's look at treasury bills. Now, the decreasing interest rates for treasury bills, when you look at it, it's resulted in some form of under-subscriptions. And should we see that as a problem?
So, I think for 2 weeks we saw some under-subscription. And that was because initially the market wasn't prepared for it. And therefore the market began to look at alternative investment, which is the Bank of Ghana's own open market operation, financial instruments. But Bank of Ghana's operations normally have, the last ones that they did had a tenure of about 56 days. Whereas the government can give you up to 1 year tenure, 6 months tenure, and 3 months tenure. So on the basis of that, you can see that there are differences. But you need to appreciate the fact that these two institutions operate different mandates and from different, market perspective. So whereas the monetary policy activities are meant to ensure that monetary policy has an anchor on inflation, the fiscal authorities, that's the government, its borrowing regime is meant to ensure that we are able to have a much efficient financing of the budget. And the financing of the budget is a cost to the ordinary citizens of Ghana. And we want to be able to do that in a more efficient manner that doesn't burden the ordinary taxpayer a lot. Whereas the cost of borrowing from the Bank of Ghana is a monetary policy activity where the central bank has its own way of raising money and making profit and making sure that the profit that it makes out of monetary activities are sufficient to cover the cost of operating monetary policy. We call it policy solvency. So if you decide that because government is paying 14-15%, I'm rushing to go and buy Bank of Ghana. There is a reason why Bank of Ghana instruments are short-dated. They are not even up to 2 months. Because monetary policy depends on regular flow of data and reassessing the monetary options that are available to you. So even though the government is a monetary policy, Bank of Ghana is borrowing at a higher rate, it is only a window of, let's say, 1 month for which they take a decision, say, look, we are coming down. Now, at that time, you are locked in at a shorter end. So if they pay you your money after the tenure, what do you do with that money? You now have to come to the market of the treasury bills and buy at a lower rate. Whereas you could have locked in for 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year at a higher rate. So the decision-making processes are different. So if you decide to go on the short end with the Bank of Ghana at a higher rate, then be prepared to suffer what we call reinvestment risk. The fact that you may not find the same instrument with the same risk and revenue characteristics to reinvest the money when you are giving, then compels you to lock in for a longer period. And the government of Ghana gives you that opportunity to lock in at a tenure other than the tenure that the central bank will give you. And if you decide that you're a business, you rather think long term and not short term.
Now, I want to bring you to something that is happening.
But I'm saying this to let you understand that it is a reason the market is recalibrating. You can see the last one that was done on Friday. We saw an oversubscription return to the market once again.
Right. Okay. Now, how did you feel, and I'm being specific, when Dr. Bawumia mentioned that from the Okwe report, NPP lost the elections because of DDEP, the economy, and hardship, among others? How did that make you feel?
For me, it reminded me of the kind of people we're dealing with. They knew this all along.
They knew?
Yes. He cannot say that he's only gotten to know in opposition. They knew this all along. Even when we told the people of Ghana, they fought us.
Because they believed that it was, the challenges were occasioned externally.
No. They believed that they could withhold the people of Ghana. They believed that they could lie to the people of Ghana. And they believed that the people of Ghana did not have the capacity to comprehend what was happening. Everybody knows that in the world, a major investment principle you learn, investment 101, is that government of Ghana, government borrows, they are risk-free. Is that not the case? That was what Bawumia learned, and that's what he even taught himself. For the first time, we were told to unlearn all of that in this country. That, in fact, giving money to Isaac Adongo could be more risk-free than giving money to the government. And they looked us in the face when a government that had entered into a contract of trust with the people of Ghana could break that trust. And they thought that we were foolish enough not to know that we have been shortchanged, and that all the promises they made to us, they didn't intend to keep them. Suddenly, future generations with the difficult task of rebuilding that trust that allowed the capital market to operate. Now you go on a thank you. This should be an apology tour, a deception tour.
But they need to thank the people for voting.
So you need to tell the people that we are sorry, we lied to you, we apologize for lying to you, we apologize for hurting you and for mismanaging the economy. But when we come back, we have learned our lessons and we'll do better. And show the people you are bringing to come and do that. Not the same faces that have demonstrated incapacity. The same faces. The man who locked the dollar and it didn't take 2 months for the dollar to escape. As we speak now, the dollar is still a fugitive. And I kept telling him, make an effort to arrest that dollar and take it to court and hear what the dollar will tell you. You will be embarrassed. Because you see, like I keep telling you, I tell you that yes, we are seeing relative stability, but we are not out of the woods. Because foreign exchange activities are a longer period of anchor. And that if events plus policy combine to give you some stability, you don't climb the rooftop and tell the people that you are the best economist in the world and that you have arrested and put it under lock and key. You just returned from this place here, Bank of Ghana here, and you didn't learn that? You didn't learn that. So, well, I'm sure a lot more will come out. I will not be surprised if they start slapping each other, because now people are now saying, so you knew all these things and you made us waste our time? You knew you had mismanaged the economy? How can a major policy of government be DDP? Your major policy, economic policy, is debt restructuring, declaring bankruptcy.
Yes, because we're saddled with so much.
Who saddled us? When you were going there and borrowing 3 billion a year to eat kinky and fish, didn't you know that you pay for them? And I keep telling, I think on this show I told the other time, that when you borrow in foreign currency, you don't throw them onto the Makola market. Because those foreign currencies, when they come into your country, they are like tourists. When they finish their tour, they will go home. You have gone to drop them at Makola in search of a predetermined exchange rate, a single-digit depreciation of a currency. So when the time comes for them to go home, where are you going to find them? In the Makola market? Very simple knowledge of currency management and anchoring external vulnerability. But this man didn't know this. Let me tell you, one of the worst things that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did to our central bank was to encourage the level of scrutiny that the central bank received. You see, the central bank, that is why economists don't make depreciation of a currency a goal variable. When we say a goal variable, you don't set up your budget and say that I'm going to end with the depreciation of the cedi at 9%. You know why? Because it is based on the exigencies of the time and the deployment of the shock absorbers at the central bank in order to deal with the emerging challenges. So 20%, if it ends at 20%, that gives you stability, that is an appropriate depreciation rate. If it is 30% that gives you that stability, it's an appropriate exchange rate. Bawumia said, if you did not get a single digit, predetermined single digit, you have failed. And ended up with 54%. You know why? Because clearly he didn't understand the dynamics of currency management. Currency management is not inflation, where we do, we can actually predict long term and say, medium term and say plus or minus 8%, plus or minus 2. We don't do that for currency depreciation because it is not a goal variable.
But they have the men.
Those are the men. Now apologizing and telling us that they've ruined us. And now the same men say they want to come back. We are still nursing our wounds. Tell them. And that there's good news in the economy where we are not only giving away money that they took from the poor, but we are making sure that we're investing more on things that touch the poor. You saw Edumapa? You saw that? You saw the National Apprenticeship Program? You saw Mahama Care? These are poor intervention. You saw, what do you call it, the sanitary towels that were given to our girls?
The free sanitary towels.
Exactly.
The girls in secondary
school. That is how you generate trusts, tax the people fairly, and spend wisely.
But they say that on the thank you tour, what they're also picking up is that the people are not necessarily excited about this new administration. They are seeing doomsaw still lingering. People's lights are out and things. So it's like they've sold their colored TV for black and white.
So the people are excited at the man who came to say, I messed you up. The excitement is in a thank you tour that has turned into a blame game. A blame game.
You say they are still healing.
Some people say it is arrogance. Others will say it is not arrogance. Then the horse's own mouth, the economic messiah, say that I mismanaged the economy into debt distress and created a problem for you with debt restructuring. Didn't he say that? 11. IMF doesn't impose taxes. What IMF does is to say that based on your ailment, this is the medicine that will kill you.
Okay.
And the medicine is that you should do a revenue to your GDP at 18%. It comes up to a certain quantum of money. Then you agree that that's the solution. So now go and come and tell us how you deploy your tax operations to deliver that 18%. We call that mobilization, resource mobilization strategy. So you come here and the only strategy you know from all the economies that you went to learn as Simon Fraser is e-levy, betting tax. And you quickly carried that one under your armpit. In fact, IMF came here and met you in your office and you were nodding at e-levy and justifying why you were imposing e-levy. This is the man who is now telling you that. So that e-levy was put into our resource mobilization strategy by Bawumia, and went to convince the IMF that they should allow them to impose e-levy because that's the only way they can raise the money. A new government comes and says, no, hold on. Who told you that that's the only way? Who told you that you tax the poor to finance development of the rich?
Is that not why he also promised to get rid of e-levy in the lead up to
I'm saying that you go to create a problem. You speak to you very well.
Yes.
He goes to destroy the water at the far end, and then he comes here to ask, Charlie, who has destroyed this water? You went to IMF, you and I didn't go there. When they came, they didn't come to Adongo. They came to you in your office, Vice President, the economic manager, the head of the economic management team, who had approved e-levy at economic management team meeting and parceled to be sent to the IMF. The IMF followed you here and wanted to be sure that you actually ferried that to them. He said yes, with alacrity. And you are nodding, you know the way he nods his head and laughing uncoordinatedly. They approved and gave you money. You took the money, 1.2 billion you took before you left, dollars. The promise that you tax the people e-levy, you took 1.2 billion here, dollars, and they gave you the money. Then somebody comes and says, look, we are social democrats. Our friends are the poor and the vulnerable. So we say that when you remember what say so if we cannot give you enough money, we must not be taking the little that you have. And we came to Parliament and we had promised the people that you can trust us to tax you fairly. And that fair tax regime is to focus on the rich and give back the money to the poor. So we forcibly took the money from the poor and gave it back to them. The money that you took and you were on your way to Jubilee, when your mama arrived, they say, hey, stop, go back to the boxes. Go and give them to the poor where you took it from. Do you understand? Yes. Now the man says that, if you had given me the chance, I would have returned the boxes anyway. Who does it? You know, look, in any serious country, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia should be in hiding. He should be in hiding. The disgrace you have given to this country. And to find this young man, Atufosin, do the kind of job he's done out of your mess in just less than 3 months. You should be calling for a tea break with him to learn from him how this was done.
But Dr. Bawumia needs to learn from the finance minister currently.
I'm telling you, he shouldn't even go alone. They should go in tow. He and Amin Anta. As Ken Kama here is coming in May.
Yes, he will come.
They should just give him a safe passage. That there's a meeting at the Ministry of Finance to go and meet Honorable Atufosin to find out from him how he did this one. You won't go and learn. You are still out there bragging and saying those things out of your empty knowledge. I mean, I'm really surprised.
Right.
I'm really surprised. Go to IMF. Ghana is a shining star.
That's what came out.
Every room we enter, everybody wants to listen to us. Right. And people are asking, how did you do this? Okay? How did you do this? Ghana, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. The only challenge with Pakistan is because it's largely an informal economy and it is becoming difficult for them to find the right mix of policies and strategies to take advantage and formalize the economy. But Ghana, Sri Lanka has a very good story to tell. As a matter of fact, I personally told my team we have to go and listen to the Sri Lanka story. But when I entered, I just told them, so look, we have a better story, you know. So we have a better story, but nevertheless, it is good to know that one of the challenged economies is beginning to see some day of light.
Interesting.
Fortunately, they were not being managed by Amin Anta and the Kennedy.
So now, I mean, you're on the board of the Bank of Ghana.
Yes.
And in the recent past, we've heard about the bank posting laws.
Yes.
And we've had cause to question why that is so. Yeah. The new governor says we should not expect the bank to be posting losses going forward. Yes. That should be reassuring.
2025. You know that we haven't yet published the 2024 results.
Yes.
So if you saw losses, don't go and say that he lied. They are in respect of 2024.
Right.
But going forward into 2025, we are doing a lot of work to bring improvement to the operations of the bank and provide the appropriate leadership and the governance framework that it needs. We are focusing a lot on improving risk management. We are focusing a lot on streamlining try to exit the gold for oil and develop better.
Try to exit that.
Yeah, and develop better systems of supporting the economy. We know that one of our biggest problems is the energy sector and how we can provide forest funding to externalize the payment to the IPPs. We are working assiduously to achieve that. And we are also aware that there is an obligation for us to ensure that there is serious monetary policy solvency at the bank, and we're working very hard to achieve that.
How challenging is the energy sector? Because we're crippled with debts in that sector.
So just think about the fact that the government has had to budget for 28 billion Ghana cedis to deal with energy sector shortfalls. Start thinking about what that amount of money will do to our health sector, what that amount of money will do to education. Okay? But it is going into energy sector shortfalls. And we have had to undertake one of the boldest reforms to ensure that we are able to fund this. So we decided that the ESLA levy that they fought us and still continue to use it to go and collect loans, we have agreed to pay the loans from central government and make the room available to use it to fund the energy sector.
Right.
We have decided to rationalize the taxes on sanitation and add those ones to the energy sector, and legislated that the money should be spent only on the energy sector activities. So we do have a sustainable vehicle now for tackling the energy sector problem. But going forward, we do know that there are some operational and commercial losses that have to be tackled. And how we will do that, the Minister for Energy is on top of it. He's been on my colleague on the Finance Committee. I do believe that he will leave Ghana a very strong, viable.
But as it stands now, I mean, effective May 1, we're paying 14% more for electricity in terms of tariff, and it has to do with the IMF conditionality, among others. But still,
So if we are not reviewing the IMF program, one of the bitter pills that they push down our throat is that they went and signed that every quarter
tariff adjustment.
There will be tariff adjustment. The only reason they didn't do it in December was because the election was there. Just look at the previous quarters. Every quarter they reviewed it, isn't it? Then when it goes to the election, suddenly the mechanism stopped. And when we came, because of the debt they left in the energy sector and the threat from the energy,
the
IPPs and the rest, we needed to find a solution. And so IMF said, how are you going to deal with it? Especially that you need to go back, to be on top of the original regime for which your previous people took $1.2 billion. If you cannot go back and do that, bring our money.
And so
1.2 billion, we don't have it. So if you don't have it, Anta, come and explain. Come and remove your mouth. How you sign such an agreement with IMF.
Right.
So it is not His Excellency John Dramani Mahama who is increasing the electricity tariffs. It is an inheritance from the people who went and took $1.2 billion from the IMF and agreed that is the only solution they have. Now when we get the respite, we will begin to do appropriate investment in order to eliminate some of the operational challenges and the commercial losses that we face. And you can see already that we are trying to improve the governance of ECG, and that is why we are digging into some of the things that have happened and all of that. And we do believe that we will soon have a handle on ECG and other such state interest corporations.
Mr. Adongo, it's been really exciting talking to you again, and I hope to have you here another time. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Always.
The good news must be told.
Definitely.
It is very difficult to tell good news, but good news on the economy on any day.
We will definitely tell it. Isaac Adongo is Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga Central. He's also a member of the Governing Board of the Bank of Ghana, having a conversation with me on the economy and matters, more matters that are related to our finances here. He's also the chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time to watch State of Affairs tonight. You're back same time on Monday, next week Monday, with another edition. But let me tell you more, because MTN says SIM cards are going for just 10 Ghana cedis. So you can just buy 5 for 50 and share to your friends and family to say happy birthday to them or whatever the occasion is. Remember, just go with your Ghana card to be able to register. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. Do have a wonderful night.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rawlings' state funeral, Miss Africa awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. You know, the van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICCU, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets, and so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the track and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.